My 26F boyfriend, 30M, broke up with me because I don't cook. Curious if this is an actual deal breaker for some guys? Surely if you're with someone you love, you can be more willing to compromise? My boyfriend wanted someone to cook and clean for him every day so he can relax when he gets home from work. He had it in his previous relationship and guess he just assumed every girl would be the same. But I work full-time as well, so I wanted the cooking and cleaning to be split between us. Also, I'm vegetarian and he eats meat, which never bothered me, but he didn't like that I wouldn't be able to prepare his meat dishes. Are these reasonable things to end a relationship over? He told me when we met I was his dream girl and blah blah, but 6 months later he was put off because I don't look after him, i.e. don't cook much. Bear in mind we never actually lived together. He just assumed if we moved in I wouldn't be this housewife he envisions, which is true. I was there for him in every other way and would go out of my way to show him love and attention, and I'm quite happy to do cleaning, I'm just not a massive cook. Just wondering if his reasons for leaving are valid. Eventually you'll look back and thank him for breaking up with you. Ending up with a man with a 1950s mindset when you work full-time too is a relationship that's doomed from the start. He wants a trad wife. The real question is, why didn't you break up with him? I think his reasons are valid for you to stay away from him. You both work. Why should it lie on you to mind him? You're not his mother. He wants a mammy to take care of him. He's not looking for a wife. Also, you're a vegetarian. You're not comfortable cooking meat for him, whether it's because you can't taste it to see if it's nice or because of a moral you have. It doesn't matter, he's probably not willing to eat the food that you do in fact cook. I.e., veg dishes. Girl, you don't need this man. You're young and will find someone else. If his previous relationship was that great both sides, he would still be there. There's a reason for that breakup, and I can guess who was issue. If a man's aim is to have his partner do the housework and cook for him, then it has to A. be discussed and agreed, not assumed beforehand. B. He has to earn enough by himself to care for both of you. This includes you both having a little spending money. Because no way should you be working full-time then working full-time again at home without pay. As for the validity of his breakup reason, anyone can leave a relationship for any reason they want. In this case, yours left because he realized you weren't going to be his new mommy. Thank the universe, or your God, or whatever you believe in, and move on. Why date someone with such old values? Sounds like a blessing that he broke up with you. He doesn't want a girlfriend, he wants a bang maid. My friend, M39, wants me, F45, to save him from being homeless, and I'm ducking his calls. My friend, M39, wants me, F45, to save him from being homeless, and I'm ducking his calls. His girlfriend kicked him out of the home they share. He's lived there 10 years, she's lived there 5. They put her name on the lease years ago. After a DV incident she had a no-contact order placed on him, which she rescinded. After finding out that he's been cheating on her for a while, she took back her consent to having any contact with him, and so by law he's not allowed back at their house, and because of the DV, no contact order, she had his name taken off the lease. So he has no income, no savings, and no idea where to go or what to do. One of my housemates doesn't want him to stay with us because he makes her uncomfortable. Another housemate doesn't like how he disregards boundaries around COVID safety. I'm feeling pretty irritated at the guy after watching him mistreat his girlfriend for a long time. And we really don't have room for another person at my place right now. I really need a script for telling him no. He's been blowing up my phone and I don't even want to talk to him right now. But even though I'm disgusted with his treatment of his girlfriend, we have been friends for a long time and I feel really cold-hearted not helping him out when he's so desperate. I know he's scared of ending up on the streets. Is there a different way I should be looking at this? Can anyone give advice about or a good script to use for turning him down? Edit to add. Thank you so much to everyone who replied to this. I really appreciate it, and getting this validation helped solidify my resolve. I understand that dude's circumstances are the result of choices he's made. I know I can be easily manipulated with guilt and have to be on high alert guarding against it. So far I've just been refusing to answer or read or reply to his texts. Knowing that I can be vulnerable to manipulation, it helps to have a few ideas of what to say if he's ever able to force the conversation. And, yeah, I don't really consider him a friend anymore since I'm not interested in investing time and energy into someone who treats other people this way. I've only learned who he really is recently, and it's a lot to process. Thanks again for taking the time to read and reply to this. The more important question here is, why are you even friends with this person at all? There was a DV incident with his GF. He then cheated on that GF. He makes one of your housemates uncomfortable. He ignores basic health precautions. And now, as if all of that isn't enough, he is harassing you for somewhere to stay? No is a complete sentence. Tell him no, then block his number if he keeps calling. You know you don't have to be friends with people who apparently beat their girlfriends bad enough to get a no-contact order placed against them. My roommates aren't comfortable with it, sorry no. End of conversation. Also, a man who got kicked out for hitting a woman is not entitled to a place where 3 women live. After a DV incident, she had a no-contact order placed on him. That should have been the end of the friendship right there. Honestly, you're just irritated by the fact he's a violent pile of trash? And you've actually talked to your roommates about the possibility of housing this creep, to the point where they had to tell you fuck no? Lady, you need to grow a spine yesterday and to learn to show solidarity with people who are being abused over keeping abusers around just because you've known them a long time. Block and move on, and apologize to your housemates for even considering doing that to them. You are protecting yourself from a man incapable of making good decisions. Sorry mate, you cannot stay with me. If he replies, keep saying, no is my final answer. No homosexuals allowed. My boyfriend 29M makes double my income, and resents me 31F for it. Edit. Thank you for the thoughtful commentary, as I haven't been able to have the courage to discuss this in depth with any of my friends. It's helpful to feel like I have some people in my corner, even though you are strangers, as I have obviously not been feeling like he is in my corner on this. From the input below, I have deduced that I will be attaining a small personal loan to pay him for my outstanding Venmo charges, and put a deposit on a new apartment for myself. I have repeatedly thought over the last few weeks, I can't do this anymore. Thank you for confirming that I shouldn't be doing this anymore and I am not the problem. My boyfriend, 29M, makes over double my 31F income, and it's recently come to my attention that he resents me for my lower income and debt I attained early in my career. A bit of background: I am a journalist, and he is in a tech field. Obviously very different outlooks financially. I used to be on air for a living, but have switched to a marketing-focused role in a major city. I now make well over the living wage, however have been focused on paying off a rather large amount of debt I attained while working in small markets for 5 years, making less than a fast food worker for the majority of the time. I don't come from money, and had unexpected medical car issues, which compounded. I have a time frame of less than 2 years to pay off all of my debt, August 2026, and have stuck to this plan easily for the past year and plan to escalate it pending salary raises, new opportunities. All that aside, we recently got into an argument where he basically said I hold him back due to my financial situation. He resents me for not being able to do all the things he wants to do, multiple ski trips a year, luxury vacations, etc., due to me being focused on getting out of debt. When he learned about my debt initially, about 5 months into our relationship, as I didn't feel it was appropriate to discuss finances in depth earlier, he basically acted like I was cheating on him and lied to him. I was of the opinion I wanted to make sure this was a serious relationship before I unload all of my personal finance details, which I thought was completely reasonable given the time frame. We are now coming up on our 2-year anniversary, so it wasn't like I sprung this on him before an engagement. The root of 80% of our arguments are linked to finances, and it has me feeling hopeless. Despite me working my ass off, I work at my gym 4:30 a.m. 8 a.m., go to my corporate job 9 a.m. 5 p.m., and do Rover, TikTok for more side income. It's obvious how much it impacts him and how much he looks down on my debt situation. I am also saddled with 80% of the cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping to make up for the fact he pays 60% of our rent. Mind you, he works remote, and works about 2-4 hours a day max. Most of the time he is playing video games when I come home, whereas I am exhausted and still expected to cook dinner. I've been of the mindset that when I pay it off it will get better and be a more equal partnership. But that is a 2-year time frame. Right now, it feels very tit for tat, and like he is in a comfortable state with this norm. When we discuss the next steps of our relationship, it also ends in arguments obviously hinging on the fact that I am still in debt, and he doesn't seem to want to propose while that is the case. I understand this, but I wouldn't want a quick wedding and have the full intention of paying everything off before we would get married. I'm trying to have patience here. But does resolving financial issues like this really salvage relationships? Aside from what is listed here, he is my best friend and a great partner. He does help when I am really struggling. But at this point, I am struggling for assurance that once we are on equal footing, things will change. I am currently looking for a new role as my company just did layoffs. I was saved, but I am not optimistic that more won't come, and from looking at it I am qualified for jobs with significant salary bumps. I am confident I will pay this off much sooner. But right now it's really difficult for me to see if this is just money, or a character flaw in generally. I feel very little empathy from him in this situation, as whenever I brought up why I got into debt his response, well, that's why I am in a field where I would never have that problem. Leaving would not be easy right now, but I have been thinking about setting an ultimatum. Any advice or words of affirmation are appreciated. I don't understand how you can say he is a great partner or a best friend. A great partner who has a ridiculous amount of free time would be happy to pick up the slack in terms of chores while you work. Nothing you said here sounds supportive, The most charitable thing is that he's paying slightly more than you are in rent. This attitude won't change even after you clear your debt, or you are making more money. Probably if you ended up making more than him, he would complain about being emasculated, and if you make less, he will always use that as an excuse for why you need to be his maid. Aside from what is listed here, he is my best friend, and a great partner. See also, aside from being utterly bald, he has a great head of hair. Or, aside from having no hands, he's great with his hands. You can't just sweep under the rug the fact that what he's doing fundamentally makes him an awful partner and friend. And if you do sweep this under the rug, it will fester there, which is why reconciling financial situations doesn't to answer your question salvage relationships. He makes double your salary doing 4 hours of work per day and he has you doing 80% of the cooking and cleaning? I personally could not be sexually attracted to someone like that. Aside from what is listed here, he is my best friend, and a great partner. Apart from that, Mrs. Lincoln, how is the play? A best friend and partner would not make you feel like this when you're doing all you can short of changing careers, which is no quick and easy or guaranteed path to riches, either. If he wants to jet set on a regular basis, he can figure out how to do it on a budget, or prioritize and save up for the rest, or pick up his own side hustle instead of playing video games. He doesn't get to be mad at you because you can't play sugar mommy. And if that's really what he's looking for, he needs to break up and find that instead of making you feel like crap because you're only able to cover the expenses you're responsible for while whittling down your debt. So you are dating an unreasonable, childish, myopic jerk and looking for us to tell you what exactly about this? Your boyfriend could pay for dates and outings so you could continue your debt reduction. I guess the biggest issue is your lack of time and having a selfish jackass as a BF. If he truly loves you, he would try to help you get out of your financial mess, not whine and spend hours each day playing video games. He, definitely, doesn't sound like marriage material. Married people work on problems as a team. Believe it or not, working on problems together can actually be fun. The issue seems less daunting when someone is there helping you. My 31M wife, 27F, invited male coworker in our home to have lunch and did not mention it to me. This is probably trivial compared to a lot of stuff I see here, but I was looking for some perspective. I was working in the office the other day, and my wife too. During lunchtime, I received a notification from our indoor camera that someone was home. Since nobody was supposed to be there, I took a look and saw that my wife was having lunch with one of her male coworker. I then closed the camera. I realized that it kinda made sense because I remembered they had a training activity for their job not too far from our home. I know this coworker and I have met him a few times. I know they work on a lot of projects together. He has a girlfriend. I didn't really care, but I was expecting my wife to mention this later when we got back home. When I asked her about how her formation went, she mentioned it went well. She also mentioned coming back home for lunch, but no mention of the coworker. Would you expect your spouse to tell you about this? Some might say it speaks of insecurity on my part, and it probably does a little bit, but I guess it's the kind of information that I'm expecting to be shared between a married couple. This is something that I will communicate to her, but I was also looking from sign perspective here. Edit. This is getting more attention than I was expecting. Just to be clear, I'm not suspicious of anything, despite many people going straight to, she's cheating. I'm just looking for perspective because I feel like a conversation would be warranted, not because I want to accuse her, but because I'd like to establish some boundaries about my expectations in these situations. I'll talk to her and give an update. Thanks. It should have definitely been mentioned. Presumably she knows about the cameras and knows you could see when people are in the house, so maybe clarify with her as she mentioned coming home for lunch? Not sure how great her communication skills are generally or what your relationship is like, but I would imagine if she was trying to hide something she would have disabled the cameras. Out of interest, why do people have cameras inside their houses? I get monitoring the outside, but I'm always perplexed by the idea of watching my living room from a phone app. Gonna go against the grain here. When my partner asks me about my day, I kind of forget so much of how the day went. Like I always think, I should remember this to tell her, and then I never remember. Work is so separate from my real life. It's just some place I have to be for 40 hours a week. I think she should have mentioned it, but I wouldn't assume it was nefarious that she didn't. I think you should just bring it up and simply let her know where you're coming from and why you thought it was off that she didn't mention it. Nope. I tell my husband when anyone drops by. It goes with the, how was your day, talk. It was good, so and so dropped by, we had lunch, or went out for coffee with X. I think it's weird that it wasn't mentioned at all. I feel like this sub needs a rule that you have to actually try to talk to your partner before you post here. Just ask her. It might be something as simple as she thought she mentioned the lunch to you the morning of and that you already knew about it. Sure, you can expect that she would have mentioned it, but she did mention she came home for lunch and I'm assuming she knows there are cameras so you could see that she was not alone. How do you normally communicate? Maybe she just forgot, didn't think it was worth mentioning, or thinks that she did mention it. Just ask her and you'll probably have a laugh about you stressing out. Afterwards you can ask her to just say so. You can verbally express if it's important to you that she mentions or asks this.